Hello my friends, happy Wednesday to you. Thank you for joining me for another one of my videos. It's Wednesday, it's midweek Bitcoin price action analysis. Strap in, let's go. If you enjoy this content, like and subscribe. Then you get a notification every day when I do another one. Alright, so while I move that one out of the way. This is a daily time frame. I had a few wiggly lines on there yesterday, but I've taken them off because they were obscuring the picture. But I've left my big blue box on there. For now. I'm hoping the big blue box doesn't get used, but you never know. Now, this is a daily time frame, so you can see the boring volatility continues. That's right. And you can see that in a very visual way, if you don't believe me, by just throwing on to any chart your local friendly Bollinger Band. That's right. And you'll see that as the Bollinger Band gets narrow, that is reduced volatility, so boring in layman's terms. And as the Bollinger Bands get wide, that's increasing volatility, which is exciting. Now, the good thing about having the Bollinger Bands, I mean, you can do this yourself, right? But you don't need a Bollinger Bands to do this. But just using the old B bands here, you can see there's a nice range. So this is on the daily time frame. Now, the daily time frame, I think, is probably going to contract a bit more on the volatility. This was the least volatile point for some time, going back to beginning of June. And in fact, that to me looks like the narrowest Bollinger Bands have been for a while, probably since back over here prior to the move to the upside. So, yeah, low volatility, maybe getting a bit lower. And why is this useful? Well, this is useful for many ways. So generally I just look on a naked chart, right? And you can absolutely do that. But if you want a bit more guidance, then a Bollinger Band is a great way to do it, because it gives you a range high, gives you a range low, and it gives you a range mid. Of course, the mid is just a 20 SMA, and then the high and the low are standard deviations around that midpoint. So it's actually a very simple thing, and it's been around for several decades. I'm sure it'll be around for several more. Now, so what you can see from this is that really, for Bitcoin to prove everyone wrong at the moment and start to pick up its heels, at the very minimum, it should close daily time frames back above 60,000, which you can see here is the midpoint on the Bollinger Band. Should it then do that, it's still no great shakes, but what it means is it's in the top half of the Bollinger Band, and when price is in the top half, if volatility then picks up, well, then it's more likely to go to the upside, right? You don't need the brains of an archbishop to figure that one out. So in the top half, but still in low volatility, volatility picks up, price breaks to the upside. This was the same thing, just not quite so volatile. So low volatility here, price is in the bottom half of the Bollinger Band. As volatility picks up, price breaks down. Same for here, this is a more obvious one. Low volatility, price below the 20 SMA, and then as volatility picks up, price goes with it. And so, so for now, if volatility expands, then you'd expect a downside move based on that logic. And therefore, for the counter to be true, as in if volatility picks up with an upside move, then Bitcoin needs to, at the very least, get back above 60,000 in my humble opinion, and in the opinion of the Bollinger Bands. Now, clearly this is a dynamic situation and things change with every closure, but for now that seems to be the case. What would look good for a significant more upside? Well, back above 64. And that's easy too, right? Because that's just a high. and it's also the upper Bollinger Band there. Now, interestingly, and I don't know if you remember, should I take the B bands off? Yeah, let's take them off. Or I'll just quieten them. Interestingly, I don't know if you remember a few videos ago, I had a blue line across here, which was something thus. And it was daily closures, basically below this closure and this open. And I mean, you could say that Bitcoin did close below them, because indeed it did, but only by a fraction. I mean, and therefore, with it, this at the time was the low. This was the local low. This was a higher low. That was a high, and this was a higher high, right? It hasn't really kind of significantly broken down below that low. And so, even though it's hard to be particularly, but I think it's quite hard to be bearish as well. I mean, it's just a kind of neutral time. But yeah, clearly there's some support for Bitcoin around the area. I mean, it is an area, but if you want to be brutal, then it's around sort of 57 and change. There's clearly a support area there. It was certainly the case over here, and here, right? So I think there's people buying. But you know, it's certainly just sideways and slightly down at the moment is the name of the game. Now, I'll just remove that blue line for now and flick back to that. So you can see on the daily momentum, still to the downside, and indeed yesterday's closure failed to turn this back up. And what will today's closure have to do, which comes in 4.5 hours? Well, it'll continue to fall and be red below 58.6. What's the price of Bitcoin at the moment? It is around about 58. So not a million miles away, and maybe a bit of a doji candle forming here. But that would be the first fingers, like the fingers on the edge, and then so for daily closures back above 58. But then I think the significant one is 60. So closures back above 60, still not like all guns blazing, but I think that makes the next move less likely to be to the downside. Wow, how do I manage to get 8 minutes on one time frame? I don't know. Maybe I just like talking. This is the 4 hour, man. Still consolidating sideways. I don't know if you remember a few videos ago, I had a kind of range here, and it's pretty much still in it. I mean, yeah, momentum's to the downside. It's sort of edging its way up. And you could argue there's a little bit of a bullish divergence here on the 4 hour. It's not the most powerful time frame, but you know, the price is making lower lows, and the MACD is making higher lows. So the MACD is trying its best to get back to the zero line, and will remain green as long as Bitcoin's above 57,250. So yeah, yeah, it's an interesting little area here. Still quite far from crossing above the zero line. I think I'll call it a day on that one. So yeah, I think 60,000, as it has been for a long time, is key for Bitcoin. Get back above there. Feels a bit safer. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Join me tomorrow for another one. Take care. Peace.